I am live, I believe. Greetings, everybody. We're waiting for Josh to come on. I'm Jostein. This is What If, and today we are going to speak to Josh about the ego. That's something we all hear a lot about. Does it have to die? Does it serve us? I'll just wait till we get some people on that can tell me if audio is okay. And today we have to be sure me and Josh are at the same level of volume. Sorry for me being quiet, but I'm just waiting because I can't see any. Helen X, welcome, thank you. I have sound. Good to know. We're just waiting for Josh. So he can teach us and give us his gnosis about the ego, which is probably a higher, let's say, level than any one of us can see it. Or at least I know. Let's see, here is Josh. Welcome.
Thank you. Can you
Nice.
hear me well?
I can hear you. Let's just
check that.
let's hear if we have a few listeners, so they can probably give us feedback if we are on the same level of volume. Because our last talk, I was very dominant in the audio-wise. That can be a bit tiresome for the people listening, that have to turn up the volume to hear you, and then I'm loud and obnoxious.
Full, my side, full beam.
Very nice.
Good to see you, dear brother, and thank you. If we do
Same.
have people with us at this present time.
We have a few. We have Helen. We have Built to be Woke. We have Empress Bonita. We have yes. Josh sounds quiet and then sounds great. So we are on the same level. One is not very much higher than the other. Just so we are 100% sure that the audio is good. Brother Josh is a bit quieter than you. Okay, I can then probably go a bit microphone.
I'm a lot louder than a few songs ago.
I'm sure you are, because that was let's see. Okay, I'll do it on the main.
Yes, a very interesting topic today.
I think many beings are waiting to hear what you have to say. Sorry for the delay. I'm just Can't seem to. Audio settings. Okay, thank you. Speaker microphone. So if I do like.
Peace to everyone. I hope this piece of moment stays with you and you embrace it as it unfolds life effortlessly. Continuous, perpetual life.
Now I have decreased my volume a little bit. So if we are now on the same level, please let us know, or if we should do any more adjustments. Because if it's okay, we can dive in to it. I was thinking maybe I can do like I did last time, just to read my intro, because it has a few of my questions. Okay, if there is an issue audio-wise, let us know. We have now the possibility. Josh has fixed his mic issue, and we are both are capable to adjust the volume.
The microphone hasn't.
Yeah. So let me just read what I wrote down on the show notes. Beautifully balanced. Wonderful. Thank you. Helen, thank you. We lost Josh audio, but a video, and he's muted. There you are. Welcome back. Okay. This talk will be about the ego. All of the beings on this path comes to the awareness pretty early on that the ego is something that needs to die, also known as ego death. But what is the ego? Why is it there at all? Does it need to die, or is it of value to us? Maybe it just needs to be tamed and controlled, so that instead of being in the driver's seat, it should be in the back seat, keeping its mouth shut most of the time. I believe most beings are of the first category. They are on autopilot or on ego pilot, and they do not have much to say in what goes on in their own life. They're probably believing that they are though, because if one is unaware, maybe one can mistake the ego of being oneself. One of the parts the ego is prevailing in is that it's very relevant for the times we are living in these days, is that it's hindering us in speaking and standing up for what we believe to be right. This is because most people are so concerned with what other people will say, think, and mean about them if they do not fall in line with what the masses believe, that they are rather keep silent. That will be slowing down the awakening process if there is one. That is just an example. The ego is the culprit for so much more that might not be beneficial to us in a spiritual awakening journey. I'm excited to hear what Josh can teach us on the topic, and will not be surprised if my questions will end up being relevant when viewed from Josh's perspective. So, Josh, why do we have an ego? What is the ego? What's the purpose? And does it need to die?
Right. So if we start off with what is the ego?
Yeah.
The ego is an aspect of the lower mind. The ego is the automatic man. The ego is the programmable aspect of yourself that comes into existence with the incarnation.
Yeah, I was just going to try. Can you get it? I see you're sitting beautifully comfortable. I don't want to make you move. Can you get the microphone closer to you, because it's quite like you have this room, like little bit of room resonance in the background. I think maybe it's about the.
Can you hear me better now?
It's a little bit better.
Yeah.
Little bit could be even better, but I don't know.
Is it or what's the issue?
It's just like it's not echo, of course, but it's kind of a resonance from the room you're in,
Well,
probably.
sound of the computer as we talk, like a duplicate sound.
Yeah, no, it's they will probably let us know if everybody can hear okay, then let's just go. Just keep on going, brother.
Accordingly. There we go, I think. Better?
Yeah, but what did you do now? Because it was so static. What did you?
Is it?
Huh?
It's static now, is it?
No, you touched something and it was.
Oh, that's the USB.
Okay. I'm sorry. Just keep on going.
I will take a drink and then.
When you're close to the mic, that's when it's better.
I'll stay here. Okay, I'll touch the mic and I'll stay here.
You sound quite faint to me, Helen says. So it's.
I sound faint at this present time. Okay, bear me 1 second. Just make sure the levels are good. I have checked that.
Little echo.
That's probably why I can see that it's switched from this microphone.
Wow. Okay, thank
The
you.
one we had the MacBook.
Probably
microphone.
that would. Now maybe I'm the one being low in volume.
Do another microphone check with our beautiful family, and then we'll just start from here.
Now it's perfect. Fantastic.
Yeah. Good.
Now, let's go.
Let's go. So the question was, what is the ego? Yeah?
What is the ego?
The ego is the aspect of the unconscious, automatic being, the programmable aspect of ourself. It is a mind, or the mind with the person attached to it. So it's the person's mind. Now, when we are conceived and born into this existence, as the child is born pure in its nature, it must have something to protect it. So as it goes through life seeing, there is an aspect of this mind which is a place that recycles information. What it sees, what it's told not to do, what it's told it is, and stores it here. And as a part of reality, as it expands and grows, it becomes aware of its surroundings and acts as a survival mechanism for the physical body. So there's nothing new that can ever come from this space. It deals with what it's seen, and there's an aspect of, you could say, the past. So if a baby or a child has been told not to do something, this is the programming of the child. And when a child's around about the ages of 5, 6, and 7, the mind starts to really become a place of noise. So attention from the child seems to be given to this space. And as we are pure attention and we give it to this space, by the age of 7, we kind of automatically lock in our awareness to this space of the mind. This is why that saying, give me a child until they're 7 and I will show you the man, is coming from. So this is the space. Now, what we are here to do on this journey is to find our way back to ourself. You could say that the ego has been created by the self for the ability to have an experience of separation from itself. So it creates a reality of a personhood, a body mind function that seems so very real that the awareness can trap itself inside that Rubik's Cube. And the journey is to be able to become one again. Atonement, at one ment, not this duality, bipolarism that we all experience. So the ego itself sees life and it relays it back to you via commentary in the mind. So everybody's aware that at one point in their life, they were walking down the road and having conversations with themselves. This commentary is the ego. And the liberation that we will find through the enlightenment is this discovery
and the processes in discovering this space within inside ourselves. You see, the conquering of the ego, you could say, is the title, but it's more of an acceptance and a recognition that there is a function within yourself, or the function within inside your awareness, that does what it does, and it is what it is, but it is not here. And I recognize this aspect of myself. The only time I can suffer is with attention on this mind / ego thinking thoughts. The ego is the sufferer, and you have, or one can have, an identity crisis. And the identity crisis that is true to man is when we associate ourselves with this body mind function. Because this is not the truth. It is a belief. And all beliefs cause a certain level of suffering until we can recognize or recognize the truth. And it is an inward journey. And it's all about the recognition and the cognitive. This is where the recognition is cognitive. This function that we have is all about expanding the awareness. It's all about activating the higher senses. It's all about absolutely knowing. So know the self is to know. Now, a life of knowing is a life of peace and freedom, because in your knowing, there is no questions. No questions arise. And the self aspect has and is a multitude of dimensions. There are many dimensions within inside oneself. All of the mystic art, magic, and hearsay and untruths among the conspirators of spirituality, is everything is actually internalized, and your attention is a dimension, and there's multiple aspects of this within inside of you. But how do we transform, and how do we switch dimensions, or have these dimensions accessible to us? That's the journey, and that's what we are here to try to point in a simple understanding that one can apply and start to truly see these different aspects of living, aspects of life, and move away from suffering to be in perpetual joy, happiness, and activate the kundalini, or the etherical right side of ourselves, the divine feminine aspect of all mankind.
Would you say, also there's talking about ego death. So, but it does serve us in a way.
Oh, I mean, the mind will do what it does. It's an aspect of this consciousness. So it will always be here. So one thing that we can do on the journey is to sweeten up the way the mind is. A mind inside Babylon without no awareness tends to look at the negative things within the world. The negative things happen and picks it out as a focal point. And then you train the mind to pick these things out. So it repeats these as it was a necessary function to pass on to the body. But that's not the case. What we do is we sweeten ourselves so much that we release these endorphins. And these endorphins are healing, anabolic, and create a perfect functioning body. But also on the aspect of the opposite, if we are falling trapped to the mind and the anxiety and the adrenaline, the cortisol, and all these stress hormones that it releases, this is a consistent battle and an energy drain. If one has a real experience of fight or flight, and this is happening even in thought, that the adrenaline that was released stays within the muscle tissue, and there's so many processes that you have to do to try to help and aid this being released. But it's a very draining, tiresome thing to do to uphold this personality or this ego itself. So the amount of energy, the abundance that arises inside of you when you continually remove the shadow aspects of yourself, or these illusions, demons that we carry, then that's where we start to feel the evolution, expansion, the higher frequencies, the higher energy, and enlightenment. Enlightenment is to enlighten the mind. And that mind is full of baggage, and it's not necessarily the death or the killing of it. It's an acceptance of it and an alternate reality or an alternate space that your attention will go to. So rather than give attention to the mind or the elephant in the room, we turn our attention to the present and the presence, and we experience life. See, the ego will make one feel as if they're experiencing life, but the ego is experiencing the life and relaying it back to yourself or the awareness at a very slight delay. So you're never actually experiencing reality itself. You're experiencing the commentary and relay of the reality within inside yourself. The moment has been missed. So the key is to try to bring yourself to the space where the moment is perpetual, and there is a true understanding that there is no past, there is no future. A future is a contemplation, and the past is something which has been experienced and has gone past. But that past was in a moment. The future will never come, but yet into a moment that is now. And to be here in the very split second of the moment is the truth, is what is. There is no labeling, there is no construct or concept that comes before. It's life unfolding itself. So that aspect allows you to become free from the chatter or the mind chatter that comes along with the automatic ego.
So one can get ahead of the ego.
The ego itself doesn't relay life to you anymore. There's no chattering. There is a split second that exists with your attention, and you can become faster than the ego. The ego loses its grip on reality itself. And in that process, it does become noisy, as you start to become aware. And the number one thing that we like to point people is the food journey, because there is an automatic evolution. But if your DNA, your photons, and your coding is not in its supernatural or natural state, there's an oppression on the evolution. And this is what Babylon is for, the food, the distraction, the media, and all these things. They're about the oppression. And what you do is you give your attention to these objects that are external or seem external, and the attention is on them, and the mind is missed because the mind's noise is even distracted by this artificial or this reality of objective nature, physicality, phenomenon. So it's just literally a perpetual battle of attention, but having that understanding that we can direct our own attention to this moment in a continual practice, and realize that all thoughts that come from this space are actually illusions. And you see the word demon, if we go back to the ancients, we say ghosts or we see demons. And it's important to see the structure of the word, because de is to take away, like deconstruct, defragment, debilitating. You see, by light. To debilitate is to remove this dual aspect of light, but the die word itself. But we're saying removal. Sorry, we went to the D. So demon is to remove one. Mon is one. Mono is one. So the demons actually remove you from the one. So these are illusions. These are ghosts, and these all pop up inside your field of awareness. But they are non-true experiential. They don't exist apart from within the imagination, and we must overcome these.
So as with everything, it's a process. As you go
most of the time, some people can experience kind of this death via very near-death experiences. They come to the realization it's because that you can never die ever, and everything within inside this fear of death or dying is a belief of the person and the body. Because as you move into the dimension of the presence, and you start to see that the presence has a witness of the moment of the presence, and this witness is the all-seeing eye, You could say the eye that sees all that could never be seen. This is the true space of self. That true space of self that has no concept, it has no shape or has no form. The one that is in this space or dream space, the dreamer of this reality. You see that even reality itself was constructed within inside yourself. And what you did was you created this artificial reality in a dream. So you're really truly in a dream within a dream. And then everything begins to make sense at that highest level, that all questions can be answered in its simplicity. Like the chicken or the egg, which we've been saying recently. The first human. The chicken or the egg, which would come first, and people start to try to conceptualize it and see a chicken and see an egg, realize the chicken comes from the egg, but the egg comes from the chicken. Yeah. And if there was no chicken or egg in its first place, and those were dreamt within inside oneself, it's just an experience. And this is why dreams can seem so vivid. And at the moment of death or falling within a dream, you wake up. This will happen here, I can assure you. You will never die. You just have a belief that you will.
So, knowing that we don't die, knowing that this is just a, transportation, like a vessel for having this journey, that alone won't mean that your ego is dead. You can have a lot of issues with your ego even if you have come to the conclusion or the knowing that you don't die.
It's a kind of a revelation inside yourself as you collapse the beliefs. So it's a knowing. So you will go through this process, but this process happens only when one is at a certain level of consciousness. So when you become aware, let's say you start at the very base level, you start to see that the reality itself, the reality that presented is not necessarily the truth. And the unconscious beings are doing what they do, and you have popped away from that cycle. This is the initiation or the beginning of the etherical brain starting to manifest inside yourself. So you're starting to build a new dimension. And as you begin to see more, this is becoming more and more valuable to your freedom. And this begins with the ego seeking more power. The ego itself will allow this to happen because of its seeking of more power, because it sees that in having this spiritual dimension, there's more strength, there's more knowing, there's more ability to dominate and control. But it would shoot itself in the foot here, because the idea of spirituality is to remove these shadow aspects, these concepts, these beliefs, desires, fears, anxieties, depressions, and clear this energy center. And in doing so, this mind becomes a very obvious separation from you. And then you can start to utilize your contemplation and ask yourself the questions, what am I? What am I? And even the very concept of the word I itself is speaking of what you truly are as an I. Something which sees, but it has no form or shape. And I happens to be number 9 in the alphabet itself. And that's the feminine. And it also looks like a spine with an eye. And this is aspects of the kundalini energy system, the one that we consciously activate with inside ourselves. And it's not through breath work, and it's not through yoga as such, stretching. Yoga is like religion. It means union. So union is one, which is the place that we should be, or we are this at our being. So understanding all of these very simple things, they will allow one to have a slow and steady progression. But the virtues are probably number 1 to aid in that beyond food, because the food cleans the system. And where we were with food, I was leading, but it was left, is our DNA is light. And the true foods of ourself are amino acids and glucose form as a fruit. Now, if you have inactive the DNA, you have a lower or less amount of the amino acids. And if you feed your body the glucose and amino acids with living light food, it actually activates dormant DNA within inside the body and builds the correct coding of this body to function properly. And the function of this body was to, align with a natural evolution. So without being that, you'll never have a natural evolution, and it has to be with some teacher or with some guru or somebody that can point your awareness to this space. But if you give truth, the application in every moment, you will expand beyond all belief and have a great knowing of all things. And the knowing is the key, because believing is just a lie.
So by waking up the dormant DNA, we can, in theory, wake up one day and know shit. Also know things we didn't.
Well, to be like understood, or you could say, bringing it logically, if we are the dreamer, if you have seen these alchemical drawings of the past where there's this big body and then this world underneath it, and it's got all the aspects, dimensions of colors, etc., you're the dreamer, but you fell asleep and you didn't remember this dream. Now you're in the body of the dream and the mind of the dream. Now, if you can remember this dreamer, this whole experience was actually from the dreamer, which you truly are. So the whole reality, every aspect of reality, all of the physicality, the phi cycle, the phi ratio, the magnetic field, the positive, the negative, the masculine, feminine, the words, language, life, it all came from yourself. But can you reunion with this self that created all of this? And this is what would be called the Godhead revelation, or the Buddha, or the Christ, because Jesus was a man, just like you and I. But the consciousness that he found, or he had as a revelation within inside himself, was Christ. And this awareness is the same as Buddha. Christ is to see the vibration of consciousness within your sine wave of the physicality, or sine wave of physical. So the true nature of Christ, or Christos, is being fully aware and being that which you truly are. And we can go on this extensive search looking for something, but we're looking within the realm of separation. And we're looking for something that truly we already are. So the search of the self will elude you from the self. This is what it's about when they collapse these twin pillars. The number 11, the L even. See, the L is the AL and EL, the red and blue shift aspects of these Taurus within inside of us. And you have this Bible, red and blue. We're looking for this blue energy. But the blue energy cannot be found aspect of this divine feminine. It is naturally with you, but distorted as a person, ego, mind. And it's only when you let go of the ego, the mind, the person, in the belief, this energy starts to transform you. I mean, this is the very reason. See, E is the fifth letter in the alphabet, and E represents this blue shift. So, I mean, if you look at the word ether, you'll see A and E, the R, or A-E-T-H-E-R, which is, the A and E physical vibration of the ether that reciprocates. It's all about this reciprocation of energy. But this Bible itself, this ultimate teaching, is trying to unconsciously, subconsciously allow this energy work to be found from those who truly seek with their own eyes. One that follows will never find this ultimate truth or reality, because one is looking externally. And all external searches, when one comes to this very space, you must drop them. You must surrender all physicality, all concepts, to be able to find out which you truly are. So this temple building that we have, Freemasonry, you could say, or and this twin pillar representation, we build the temple. We build the temple of this body, mind, and we build this temple of this spiritual seeing. But the spiritual seeing and this body, mind are all seen. So the spirituality that arises is the non-dual aspect of the experiencer. What is it that sees the experiencer experience? Can you see him? Can you see that which sees the experiencer experience? Can you see the one which sees the questioner ask questions? What aspect of yourself is the questioner, and who has the questions to ask? Who am I, and which position of I are you coming from when we conversate? Are you coming from the space of the person? Are you coming from the space of the experiencer? Or have you come here as the ultimate truth, the absolute, the shapeless, the formlessness, the seer? And that seer there is the unaffected truth. It has no shape. And this can be your very reality if you continue to evolve yourself. Is you shift from these dimensions. There's no suffering, there's an experience, and life is felt. But as this truth, the truth has created the reality for the experience. And you can really be in tune and understand why life is manifest. Because this is the magic. This is the magic moment here and now. And we are experiencing that from nothing. What a magical thing. To smell, to taste, to touch, to see, to hear. Yet we spend life suffering with no reality or true wisdom to this life. And that suffering that we feel is the awareness, is the buzzer, is expressing that there is something wrong. And the matrix or our reality will always have these things ring around the mainstream, is the truth will set you free. But the truth, it has to be your truth. It has to be that if I have a truth and I don't apply my truth, then I will think more. I will have a thought form or demon manifest to say, and it will say, I wish I did this. I shouldn't have let this happen. I should have done this, or I wish I did this. So this is living in a past. This is living in an uncomfortable position for the true self. This is where suffering lies. Because in one who is feeling this anxiety or depression or is fixated on these thoughts, the simplest remedy is to realize that my attention has gone to this sufferer. And I bring attention to this moment and become fully involved, and all of those aspects disappear and you become free. So everyone has a choice to be there or here. And it's just like anything else. It's practice. And you continually remember. And if you have a partner that's on the journey with you, then it's good to be able to tell each other when one has slipped into the nature of unconsciousness. Yeah, anger may arise. But how quickly can you become centered once again? And this becomes the evolution of yourself. Now, I know for you, dear brother, between this year and last year, and how quick it is for one's ability to become centered again after any type of physical altercation or experience. Or we can just ask you here, like, how much do you feel like you can bring yourself to balance after being slightly out of balance compared to last year?
Pretty quick. Pretty quick. Of course, the ramifications. If we're talking physical, for example, let's say you have a food experience.
Mhm.
Um, no, I can bring myself back, but the the let's say the side effects
Yeah.
of the act itself is still lingering and takes some time to
But beyond physicality, then just mentally and emotionally,
well,
can it just be brought back within a few seconds?
yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't even also if I went astray, let's say with an experience,
Yeah.
it doesn't even take me away. Also, I'm not affected by it mentally,
Yeah.
just physically.
Good. So
So
when you were, say, if you were to have an experience in life that made you fight or flight, how quickly is the dissipation of this energy through realization within inside you? And how much has it come since you've been seeing that attention is the most important thing you have?
I can't even remember last time I had the fight or flight situation or a feeling or experience. It's
Just
yeah, it's long and far, and I can't even remember last time. So probably that in itself means that at least I'm on the right.
yeah. Are you perpetually happy?
I would say so.
Yeah.
I would say so. There's not much that brings me out of, let's say, sync.
So would you say the quality, as you've done, evolved and had spiritual aspects, worked on, and you've broken boundaries within inside yourself, there's the simpler form of living and joy that is on a day-to-day basis without expectations of anything or the need of anything or having to gain material things to make you feel better about yourself. You're just happy,
Yeah, I would say so.
freedom and
I would say
happiness.
so. I'm very lucky, you know. I have, let's say, I think most what can bring one out or down, or let's say, is probably many times if there's an economical issues, because one is so scared for not having, you know, enough money to live. We need
Mhm.
money to live. It's, you know, it's material world. uh, and since because I sold the business, so I've been lucky to have some, let's say, financial security, at least enough to not worry about money. I'm no millionaire or nothing, don't get me wrong, but the not having to worry about economics. Let's
So would
say,
you say thinking touches with the worry?
if the thinking,
So this worry is felt in the emotions when you think, and only when you think.
yeah,
Does the thinking help?
no,
So to be able to be that without thinking, because life will be life, the acceptance of that allows the geometry and the vibration of yourself to become free. So the fear aspect leaves you. So your resonance begins to clean up. So that resonance, once it's clean, brings the life that this resonance, or be the change you wish to see. So we're becoming this change. So the reality itself shifts. And if you begin to give attention to the moment and to the reality and observe the reality as your energy shifts, you become very familiar with the dimension of life and how everything comes into existence. So, this worry that one could have or had, did life always end up for the better without the worrying or the worrier? You see that everything is happening for you and all situations are here to evolve you And if you don't evolve with them, it stays perpetual and recycling. But if one does choose to apply the truth that they have, the experience cleans itself up and the abundance is poured in.
Mm.
You see synchronizations in the life. You may sit at home wishing or kind of inner requesting that you need to do something, and then someone is in the store as you're leaving that talks to you, and I have an opportunity here. I haven't seen you for years. This thing happens, but life will always take care of it. And the synchronizations that you have when one surrenders, and life will truly give everything that you need.
Yeah, and I experience this, I won't say daily, but a lot. And I truly believe it's actually from just letting go and not, just expecting that life will work out. And it does. It's continuously presenting opportunities and persons which goes with another person, and also it's a flow. And I don't have to do anything. It's yeah.
Because if you understand that, people may talk of guardian angels with you the whole time. This is the highest. Raphael, Michael is the EO aspect. This is the highest dimension inside yourself, and it's been with you the whole time. But it was the recognition of it, or most beings haven't had the recognition of that space. 99.9% of the world hasn't had the recognition of that space. But the recognition of that space, this you could say the guardian angel that was with you this whole time, you're consistently creating a reality inside of itself out of the dimension of physicality. So it's consistently creating the scenario for you. And, everything that is happening in this moment, if you take a delicate look at it, this is the interesting nature, the experience of life, and you will see how, and it will unfold with inside of you, creating a master builder, a templar, a temple builder. Turn your house into a temple and then clean it. And when the temple is clean, God shall appear.
Nice.
Yeah, that allegory, build up the intelligence, build up the intellect, know your surroundings, see the reality, see the lies and untruth, but don't focus on them. Continually evolve and create the sweetness and start to be kind. Start to have this empathy, start to see others as yourself in this natural evolution. And as you do this, again, this sweetness, this vibration starts to clean itself up. Because the content of the field that arises within inside of you is actually the reality created from your personal, or you could say this resonance. So all of your illusions cause you to vibrate at a frequency of limitation. And limitations are the L imitations, and then the imitations of the ego. All fear are illusion and is illusion. There is no fear that is not an illusion. But that causes one to... So you would fear that you are or may be without. So that fear says that there is a vibration that is without. So until that fear has been broken, realized, or transcended, then the reality itself creates a scenario of the experience that there is no abundance, that there is a situation without. Whether it's actually physically experienced or internally experienced, this is what's happening. So a consistent anxiety or fear of something will make the body feel like it's actually happened and is happening. Thus creating this scenario of that for you to overcome. So everything felt within these energy centers or this chakra system all comes from the aspects of mind, for the ability to see where the mind itself needs to be corrected, or to see that attention has been given to the space which causes your limitations and body, mind, pain.
You mentioned just earlier now, about the intellect. Did you say work on the intellect? Because I know you were previous. You have said that a wanting to have a big intellect can be an
It is
egoistic.
only ego. So so the ego wants this intelligence. So, but it's the intelligence that can be freeing. But if one truly focuses, when I say the intelligence, it is the ego. It's only the ego, because the intelligence is only built through the information that is put in. There's an ultimate intelligence inside, never left you, never been there. But for the person and mind to come into a space, there has to be an aspect of building this. Because let's say you come into awareness of one simple lie, one simple untruth within the fabric of phenomenon, physicality. Just something small like a fluoride in your water or vaccines that cause damage, And then you start to come into this realization of food, and it leads one on a journey. That is Babylon. It's to be able on, to enable oneself. This is the right side of our brain, the etherical brain. And as it starts to manifest, this is the person on the journey. This is the seeker seeking for that which sees. It's never left you. It's always been with you. But that realization must happen. It's kind of compartmentalized within inside yourself. So you're opening up portals or awarenesses, and you continually are becoming expansive to expand, to realize that the very thing which is expanding is no thing. It cannot be a thing, but all things arise from that. And everything that you see in your reality just is. But the labeling of it and the construct, the concepts, they create these limitations.
Yeah. I just want to see if there's a question, because I saw that it wasn't related to the ego. So let's continue with that and just go back to look for the questions. Yeah. So one doesn't have to. Let's say for my own. For me,
Good.
I'm not as eager to know things
Yeah.
at the level I was, at least.
Because who is the one who wishes to know? Is the one who wishes to know the seer or the experiencer?
There's a lot of things I can find interesting, and like would like to know more. Okay, let me just say, for the people listening, like I only know that I don't know. It's I have a perception, and but I have luckily come to the place where I am able to trust and let go. So even if I don't understand everything, and this is why I'm talking to you, and I'm kind of representing all other beings that may have questions about things, because I'm no expert and teacher or guru or anything. I'm just a person.
But you see that which questions as separate from you.
Excuse me?
As you've spoken here, you can see that you see that which has questions. And this questioner is not you. And you're able to silence that questioner.
Yeah,
You see, that there itself is having control over the ego. So there's a ability to see that ego as it arises questions inside your field of awareness. So you ask yourself, what is it that is aware of this? And you ask yourself, what is it which sees one become aware of this? Those dimensions that sit within inside of you are parts of your evolution as you deconstruct yourself. Now, to know the external reality that has truly come from within, there's no purpose of that. if one can do what you're speaking of. Because you're gone and you've bypassed it, but there was some seeking. There was seeking from you. There was aspects of conspiracy and government and a realization that the world itself was defunct and fiat, you could say. So that element caused you to see that you are very separate in your awareness from that unconscious nature of man. It brought a new element, and it was the building of your etherical side, the etherical mind. So the quickest way to, or the best action to take for the realization of the truth is to take no action. And to realize that everything that one does external or in the seeking of something, it eludes you from that which you truly are. So it's the recognition of your true self that is only found in contemplation. And the meditation is the sitting quiet to allow one to be able to contemplate about its true nature and build this space. Because true meditation is actually the being itself, the guru. Because the guru is the one. It's not the body, it's the one, the source, the ultimate, the absolute. And anyone that is able to attach to the field has the guru speak through them, rather than the reciprocating cycle of mind and the information that it holds. There is no originality there. And this is why when one steps away from that cycle, it's very obvious to see who is within the cycle of absolute unconsciousness, full identification with the body-mind.
I have some friends, I would say also definitely on their spiritual journey, and one is even, talking to, like broadcasting and talking and saying all the right things, and very, very nice person, but I see him still, he's kind of preaching, but he's struggling to practice.
Okay.
If you know what I mean, it's like he gets off railed, let's say derailed.
So is he able to be it without the practice, or is it more of he just has an intellectual understanding and there's not much practice and he's not actually being that freedom?
I hate to speak for him, but I just noticed that he, sometimes he loses track, even if he knows the way. He knows the way, but maybe it's just that little lack of trust.
Yeah, so he has a belief right now rather than a knowing, because the knowing comes with the application. So he has the awareness that he needs to apply it, and he's built up the intelligence to be able to see, but he's not applied the intelligence to move from belief to knowing, to find this true space, which happens to a lot of us. There's a lot of, like you could say, spiritual arrogance out there, and the arrogance is, trying to transform and change others. Who are we to shake them out of their sleep? And then we come to that realization, and that there is another level of freedom. You see a lot of beings on a journey who become identified with spirituality within their person. That's another thing.
Yeah.
If one does these practices and then they focus so much on the practice, they've actually lost their self, because they are now within a practice. And you're already that. You can never not be that, only when one is in a practice. So if things are done for the body to maintain the supple nature of it by yoga without any expectation, judgment of that, there's a knowing, because they know the muscles, the body starts to lose its form if it's not held in the correct posture. But if we become so obsessed with that, and obsessed with this, and obsessed with the clothes, and obsessed with everything, the food and all things, then we've lost ourselves there too. So it's always that balance or that temperance of the virtue system brought into play. You know, we have a course on the virtues on the website, but if you do apply the virtues very slow and steady, there's an unfolding within inside yourself, and if you watch them, you learn the energy of life and how to manipulate the energy in all circumstances and create the reality you wish, at the same time cleaning the negative aspect or the negative vibrational aspect, and aligning life as it should be, truly for you, free from this mind judgment aspect. You know, diligence, kindness, temperance, abstinence. You know, to abstain from something brings it into balance again. To be able to separate and see that the obsessive nature of the ego was attentively focused on this, and your enjoyment came from this moment. Say if someone drinks, there's no addiction to it, it's habitual. So that recycling of the ego, because if there was no ego, one wouldn't recycle, it would just be a new experience. So it's all coming from this aspect. So if one can really truly understand that the mind holds the key, the mind holds the limits, the mind holds the expansion, and you utilize these things, you sweeten the aspects of yourself. And if you choose to bring the dimension to the moment here in presence, there is no sufferer, there is no suffering, there is no addiction. There is none of these things. So to continual practice to bring the awareness here and to experience the moment of life as it unfolds is such an evolution within inside one's being. That is the enlightenment. And that is just above sort of the halfway range of the expansive nature of oneself here. Then the bliss, the radiance of life. The energy itself, it starts to unfold these supernatural abilities like the clairvoyance, you know, the hearing, if you're engaged in dialogue, you hear the intentions, you hear everything. And then you experience beyond this ecstasy. Ecstasy is still experienced and then seen by that which you truly are. And as you surrender these states, because if one stays focused on that state, and then that state that was experienced in the moment, the very wanting of that to come back causes everything to stop. So the freeing is to become more free. You see, we find people have these blissful states. People have experienced what it was like in an enlightenment state, but they couldn't hold on to it. Why can he or she not hold on to it? Because they're holding on to the past experience. They are wanting something to happen again when this is fresh. That one which is fresh shall experience truth. That one that doesn't flow becomes stale. ST-ale comes from ailment, the sine wave of the physical. Even the word ale itself is a representation of alcohol. They call it spirits, they call it ghosts, they call it ale. I mean, they don't call it a ghost, but spirit, you know, flesh-eating ghost.
Well, I have some friends that definitely, when they drink, they have also quiet down the drinking, but when they drink, they definitely become someone else. It
Fully
seems.
identified, yeah. Yeah, fully identified. They fall into their true persona, like the persona.
Oh shit! Is that
without awareness itself. So they're not able to pick themselves up and certain places where they would have before. Like, someone's anger when it arises when they are drunk, they don't necessarily have the ability to bring themselves back. They can lose. They say, I lost myself. Well, there you go. Fully identified. So yeah, I mean, alcohol itself has never been an interest of me. I found it always off-putting, and just like watching others under the influence of alcohol was something which put me off at a very young age. Seeing the way that people just change. That was something that I didn't ever want to bring into my being.
I have actually, personally as well, I haven't been a heavy drinker. I have had some drinks, but compared to many others, alcohol never, let's say, attracted me. I have done a lot of other things, though. Substances of fun, to have fun. One has a past. Don't judge me.
Have you ever tried tap water?
No, I didn't go that far.
That's crazy stuff. Yeah, I think I never drank. I tried, but I don't think I ever drank since I was 16. Tried a tiny bit and never.
Never again?
No.
So, I don't know if there's any questions on do you feel you have explained it?
I feel like there's so much to it that
Yeah.
this is just a few pointings and an introduction to it.
Yeah.
Questions are very good in unfolding aspects of oneself, because this is the point of, like you would call it like a satsang, where you help one see the self within inside their very questions. And if someone has a question, the simplest way, if we don't have questions here, is not to think. And don't give your attention to thinking, because it's only in thinking that one suffers and builds up the ego. And as a part of our evolution, the fastest way to the true enlightenment is the realization that you are already it. There is no need for pain or suffering. And with your attention here, that is not felt. So to end the suffering of man is to end the thinkingness and the consistent thinking, or the addiction to thinking, the addiction to the reward that one feels when one goes back and experiences the same thing. Looking for the same, it's like a drug addict. We're looking for the same fix that we had when we first tried something. But how about it just being that which it is, and as an experience, that is what it was. And to continually experience new things. But as the slow and steady journey, which is always the best, is to listen to the questions that arise, seek the answers, and that answer that has been sought, apply that answer to know, to become wise, and to move on, and to not stay in any type of fog or any type of space, and to continually evolve. And you will find there is a natural evolution with the answering of your questions and the application of that question.
I'm just looking through the chat to see if there's a
And feel free to, go off the subject, because that subject can always be brought back.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Into this space. But as the ego is destroyed, you could say, or the attention is off the ego, the energy, the life force, the presence, this is so, it is something which I wish everyone to be able to feel, everyone to be able to know. The exuberance as one evolves to this space, there is nothing like it. The power, because the ego itself is a force. It's the identity that's constructed and then created through the form, and is forced, is false. But the effortless power that comes in that surrender and freedom, and the joy and the abundance, and there is a stage there. I can remember one point being so much joy and bliss, and there was this perpetual state of happiness, and the smile would, the cheeks would be sore and cramping because it was just pure expressive happiness. And then even that moves beyond. Happiness itself is body, mind, construct, seen. If you're the seer is expressionless, but can utilize these awarenesses within inside the self to create dialogue, conversation with people, but being in the full awareness of it. So you may see in someone almost expressionless. I can remember when my mother, "Are you okay?" They used to be so smiley, but it's beyond smile. But you can bring this to a conversation, you can bring a persona, you can choose in each situation to be fully aware of how you wish to present yourself. But as the seer, unaffected by all things, it's just this absolute peace. Just absolute peace, and the knowing of your dimension, of who you are, how everything works within inside yourself, within inside this construct of physicality. And that's what makes it so special for the journey, because there are no questions here. There's truly no questioner. There's not even a body. There's no person. That person comes into being when it chooses to. Otherwise, it's just effortlessness. And the joy that I can experience in the momentary interaction with the family, other beings, like my son, that's missed by the mind. The mind will take that from you. The thief in the night is the one which takes the moment and gives it to you via commentary. Do you wish to see your family through the eyes of the ego that relays aspects of your perception to you? Oh, they're doing that again. I don't like it when she does that. I hope she makes my dinner tonight. You see, and then if we don't have the commentary here and we say, I am going to make dinner because I know what it's like to have dinner made for me. And I do these acts, and you see that, being present, the suffering, that these things, small little things can arise, and these small expectations that cause the bickering in relationships. If you have both of the couple which truly have a spiritual space and you can work on it together, all of the mysteries of the universe will be revealed to both of you on your journey and beyond. You see, the mystical arts, as Sister Michelle and I went on this amazing discovery together of physicality and form and shape and geometry, language, music, art, there was an originality there. There was a great seeing and a decoding of numbers, because they do not lie. Letters, because they cannot lie. At seeing this absolute truth within form that was created by the self for one's inquisitive nature to be able to find their way out of this matrix, this Rubik's Cube. So if every word had the ability to give you the solution, that's what I see in each and every word. So every word itself helps you climb, see limbs as you climb with your limbs. But no, each word will give you that. And everyone has their fluid, their flow, their expression. So we have been trained and given a construct of words, and phonetics and sound, that there creates the limitation of the word as a meaning. The meaning is the average mathematics. So however the average man perceives is what creates this meaning, but it doesn't mean that it's true. The truth is within the word. The truth shall set you free. But the truth is yourself. that you have never, ever left that truth. You have never been without this truth. You chose to separate yourself from that. Now you have a choice to come back home. But don't miss the present. Because it is that presence that allows one to be able to make the conscious decisions about where you are sat within inside yourself. And the journey is that which builds you, the temple. Don't wish for the goal and experience life through mind, never being in the moment, because it's only that moment that is experienced that this great temple is built. With no hands. So this shouldn't be missed. And it is missed with the ego. So E, gotta go. And we go to the E because the E is the blue, and the blue is the blue shift, the red and blue shift. Cain is red and blue is able. This enables the man to become the 90% function of the 10% left. This is why when you have left, you get left. When you are right, everything's right.
Mm-hmm.
And the merging and the union of this trinity, you could say, me, myself, and I, or the mind, body, presence, self, seeing. And you switch, you use these. And you have the ability when you come into this truth that you can create the heavens, the worlds, the earth. And you can do this at night with practice while you're still in this form. And you can split yourself from your physicality, and you can experience years, 70 years, 80 years within one night within inside yourself. And that full experience of a day to day, going to sleep and eating and all these things can be dreamt. But where is one given their attention and focus to? Social media, computer games, television, fast food. And as one starts to see this nature, you don't wish to be that. You just start slowly and steady and start applying yourself to new practices, which are here, not out there. You don't see spiritual people doing spiritual things and start doing spiritualness. That question that's burning inside of you that needs answering, answer that. What is innate here and now within inside yourself as a question? Then that question is seeked. Does one have any question? Do you have a question about anything, the self, yourself? Because I feel like your journey is such a beautiful journey. It's such a nice, peaceful, slow and steady realization that you remain unaffected during this process and all these things are seen. You know enough.
Yeah, I don't have a question at the moment. How can I say? There's not much questions I need answered, because I feel there's a lot I don't know. Just to be quite clear, there's a lot I don't know, but I'm not so sure anymore. I need to know.
No, you don't.
And because where I am, as I already said, like, trusting and letting go, knowing that it's going to be okay.
You also apply some sort of virtues to your day-to-day experience, or you did, or did you do that type of course, or you understand that dimension?
I try also to the best of my abilities to be virtuous,
What if I said to you, when one doesn't try, or to everyone, they are automatically virtuous, automatically. But the person itself is unvirtuous and has to try to be virtuous. But in the letting go, you are absolutely virtuous.
But isn't it more or less like if you just, the golden rule? If you live by the golden rule at all times, you're probably very virtuous.
What's this golden rule, please?
So do unto others as you wish they
Okay.
do unto you.
Yes. I suppose.
Depending on who you are, of course.
Yeah, I was going to say someone might have some crazy fetish.
Some sadistic, can be an issue, but most,
Yeah. You be kind to others, and others shall be kind to you. Yeah. But it's the karma that we have attached to us, which is the separation as well. Maybe we could just speak on that if someone's like new to what we share. Is karma? Is there any thought? So things that you do, if they have karma attached with them, it's the ramifications of identity with it and thought. I wish I didn't do this. I wish I should have done it different. And should I do this and should I not? These, I wish I could be doing this. This is just the karma that's attached to your actions. Actions, karma means the actions itself. That's what the true word correlates with. So if your action is within the thought space, you now have the karma attached, and the karma is related to ghosts or to demons, this level of thinking. So to free yourself from karma, all you need to do is don't think. Do not think. Don't pick up a thought. Don't pick up anything, and remain here. And to see that the space of this moment is the truth. And if you give attention to the truth, you shall be set free. That's the key. That's the element. This is to be able to be meant.
Beautiful. Shall we address some questions?
Yes, please. Let's jazz it up a bit.
Finn Jacob has a question. He says, where does pole star movement evolve? Josh, would you be able to give an example, please?
Pole star movement.
Yeah. Where does pole star movement evolve? Would you be able to give an example?
So, are you speaking of the Earth's pole star and the degree of its movement? Because it's a fixed star. Maybe a bit more depth to the question, if you can.
If you can, Finn, just elaborate.
It may be like a new concept that's going around the truth movement at this present time, maybe. But I'll be interested in sort of more depth to that question.
He will probably give it to us. We can go on. Josh, Lisa, hey Lisa. Josh is the most important thing one can do on the spiritual path is quieting the mind versus acquiring knowledge. Yeah, I more or less.
Yeah, I mean, knowledge is useless without application. So if one builds knowledge as a false sense of power, so knowledge without application is dangerous. Knowledge with application is great. Knowledge with application will lead you to the knowing, which will continue to evolve yourself. But without application and one continually seeking is building up a false identification with knowledge. And everything that one has within inside his intelligence is believed. And belief is, as we can see with the word, it's a lie. It's not truth. That's why they're two separate words. So we must experience the truth. And it's only that which will evolve us. We can pretend. And like I said, the spiritual arrogance, you'll see it, we can fixate ourselves with feminism. It's no different in spirituality. And one truly be free. Can one truly recognize the fact that they are free, and they have always been free? It's a really simple process when it's presented to one in this way. And the ego or someone who is intellectual wants more depth to it. But why bring depth to something that can be brought so simple that all can fathom and put in a day-to-day practice? Attention off of the thinker and into the moment. Bring that as your daily practice. And every time you recognize that you have fallen trapped to the mind, the illusion, or the thinker, you just bring your attention back. And that one that says, oh, I've fallen trapped to it again, I wish I didn't, attention off and bring it here. And continue to distance yourself and continue to be peaceful. That there will continue to evolve yourself. And then attention will slip from that naturally into this state. And you will wake up in the presence each and every day.
Joe Blake has a question as well. How do you balance between being in the now and also creating your future? So many people sell the idea of goal setting and targets, but you can do that. But can you do that if you're focusing on being in the now?
Yeah, I mean, creating the future is only going to happen in the now. So it's applying that and taking your first step here as the natural expression of yourself, which creates. So if you have an element of yourself and you are naturally orientated to business, let's say, or you're naturally orientated to music, if you think about music, you disconnect yourself, you're copying, you're non-original. If you express yourself and become one, let's say with the guitar, with your vocals, and you're not doing anything other than this, naturally you will create a situation that brings in the abundance for that factor. So you can only be here and now. And thinking about something does not create anything. Thinking about something is the illusion in the mind which causes no action to be taken. So it's only in the contemplation and action that you will actually create. So be yourself and express yourself honestly, and that will bring the ultimate abundance to you. There's no oppression, there's no structure. And this is why the busyness world, the 9 to 5, has actually been in place within this reality, because it causes so much separation and pain. Job in Hebrew is the persecution. So you're experiencing persecution each and every day, and so much suffering and so much weight. You don't have time to think. And then that looking one can become free. But the ultimate space is to express yourself and allow that stage 1 to bring you and to bring your flower to fruit. Flower, you flow with this life. Be yourself and give your opportunities in the moment by creating there and then. Don't think about it. Thinking is a static space. No fluidity, no movement. And again, it's an illusory state and in an automatic state at that. So don't think you cannot create. I call it contemplation. It's Sion template. It's to create with your thought form, but it is not thinking, because thinking is just the recycling of noise here within inside the ego. I would say that's just the automatic part of yourself. I hope that answers your question. It was a good one. Thank you.
I think we have more info from Finn Jacob. Just when one is fully in the now, this is a follow-up to the Polestar thing. So they just when one is fully in the now, they sort of become like a pole star. So where does this pole star? So
that saying is it says, if one something, they will become like the pole star with all the other stars revolving around it. So you can see the pole star is aware, or you could say you become aware that the world is doing its thing and you are very separate from that world. And that's the reality when it's presented to you. You see that You have become like the pole star, fixed, rigid, inner standing. And the rest of the world is continuing to do what it does. You are very separate from it. The stars revolve. And the solution in revolution is the R evolution. So we evolve. And the pole star is the absolute center. And only in the center where you see and enter shall you become free. So the pole star is free from the fixed movement of the other stars. He who governs himself virtuously shall be like the pole star with all the other stars revolving around him. That's the saying. And I think it was Sun Tzu or someone like that, I think.
Perceiver. Hello, Perceiver. He has left left a lot of nuggets in the chat. But Josh, would love to hear your thoughts on the word intent. Toltecs say that intent is all there is and all that we are.
I would prefer to change that to attention.
Intent to intention. Attention.
Because attention is what you are, and where you give your attention is what you experience. If you are beyond all concepts, again, this concept is arising within inside oneself that is free from concepts and absolutely liberated from anything, and is the creator of all things. But attention is like at tension, and intention is intention. And tension is 10s ion, which is the 10 sine wave ions, which could be related to the Sephiroth and the 10 points within the tree of life. But it's the natural evolutionary process, and I prefer to give attention to the system of virtue, which cleans one's vessel and perception up to such a space that one sings so harmoniously that life itself is continually showing you the truth. And in your observation of that experience, you become fully aware of your reality, your surroundings, and how energy works. That there is something so profound within inside the awareness that I find that is the greatest gift and pointing that I can share. Is if you fully understand the practice of the virtues and you put that to your day-to-day experience, then any situation that arises will be dealt with in the virtuous manner. And you will be so clean and pure that everything you experience is just pure beauty and pure bliss. And it will evolve you the very quickest. The quickest path is the right choice path. And all righteous paths are within the virtues, because the virtues will always be the right choice. You were born into sin, and we must clean this vessel.
Sister Karen has a question. If one is unsure where they should be or feeling they should be doing something else, is this just ego searching unnecessarily?
Who is the one which feels this? So who is the one which is... Say the question one more time, dear brother.
If one is unsure where they should be or feeling they should be doing something else, is this just ego searching unnecessarily? Everything is perfect, so just be and let everything unfold. Yeah. Okay, so
I mean, if someone's unsure where they should be, you can only be here. So you can never be anywhere else. So the questioner of the one who feels uncomfortable and not sure if they should be somewhere else is the mind, is the ego, and is trying or is doing that with your attention fixated on it, causes emotional instability. So just bring the attention back to this moment and realize that the one that's asking these questions, if you sit with it and contemplate, how could you be anywhere else other than this moment and where you are? And levels of acceptance with that will allow life to continually evolve and explain these answers to you as you progress on this journey. So the one that asks these questions is absolutely the ego. And it's trying to doubt you. Hello, beautiful.
Han sier hei til deg.
Hello. I like your hoodie. I like you. Is that a onesie?
Han sier han liker den her.
Ah,
Badekåpa di.
I love you.
Han sier han elsker deg. Skal du sove? Natta. Natta.
So yeah, that's another good question. But it is, how can the one be anywhere else? You can never be anywhere else. You always are here. You can never be there. That is past, future, and for truth, it's found here. So silence the questioner by bringing the attention here, or contemplate within your nature and ask these very questions. But feel free to surrender the thought and to let it go.
Fly on the wall is wondering if you could do the etymology of the word vegetable.
Vegetable. You can see able in it. See, these words sometimes have been created in a way where they will not reveal maybe something one is looking for. Able. So the physical is able with the table of the veg. The veg itself is logically, I'm just looking at all the dimensions of the word. I mean, within the word, you can see get able, VE is the mastered, etherical. You got the G, which is the 7, and the E. It's basically expressing that there is a type of balance, and it allows the physicality to be able. But I wouldn't say that was like a true word with its natural expression, because the vegetable is just which something is. It's more of an objective nature rather than this universal thing. So form can be created and given labeling. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you had the question of the vegetable. I hope that you are having some vegetables, mostly fruit. But fruit itself, you see, the word fruit is like for you, it. But, even the seeds, they see form. Number one, having that understanding and the application of truth with the food will lead you to the space that is absolutely knowing that the fruit is your true food. And as you become more in tune with this, there's a great seeing that allows one to be able to know that everything within inside the dimension of fruit is so freeing. And that the commercial world is the opposite of this, and the only food that we consume here has been shipped from spaces that grow. So this revelation will bring you to a tree, will bring you to a seed, will bring you to a space of, you could say, non-continual reciprocative productivity, allowing you to find space and time to be able to look at the self and find it. And that's why fruit is the ultimate. Because the ultimate space that grows fruit, has hundreds, thousands of different heirloom strains, foods, and they grow perfectly without the need for plates, forks, washing up, chemicals, water systems. With the skins feed animals, they also go into the ground. If you eat the seeds, your poo can go into the ground and create life. And, every single tree that comes from one seed produces thousands of fruits, which give thousands of seeds for 1,000 more trees. Nowhere in science, nowhere in you could say industry can create that. It's a beautiful seed, and you reap what you sow.
Sister Lisa has a question. Josh, did the majority of your gnosis come from researching, or was it more from quieting of the mind and connection to source which gave you the answers?
Very good, very good. Initially, it was researching, mainly conspiracies, and then energy, free energy, and food, and then going into like the filing systems of like each and every product, going into seeing the test and the true nature of like the science behind everything. But there's a very big limitation, because the truth and the knowledge, real wisdom knowledge, comes with applying it. So having to go through the experiences myself, fasting, abstaining, and then introducing certain foods on their own, feeling how it is within the system, has led me to this knowing that, the only thing that you can refeed after a fast without irritation is fruit. The only thing that actually heals true chronic diseases when one goes through stages of fasting, etc., is only found with fruit. If someone has a chronic disease and they refeed it with anything else other than fruit, it'll come back. And it's about building this wonderful beneficial bacteria which works harmoniously with the body and creates a beautiful harmony inside every function in your body. So I would just say that it really only comes with application, and then as you have a seeing, you synchronize, and synchronization with the etherical side of the brain brings in such a different dimension, but an effortless dimension which is able to point rather than just fill information. Because if I was recycling information, one would think, yeah, that's very clever, intellectual. And some people may be, hoodwinked by the information to feel like this one has more power and I seek more power. So I'm, under this this knowledge that's been shared. But what is knowledge without wisdom? And what is knowledge without the application of it? What is all this wisdom if it doesn't do anything? So just to know is nothing. But to actually experience that, to be that, that's the ultimate for anyone. I mean, as this conversation is led here, we as mankind only have one thing to do. People say, I've got this calling. The only thing we're here to do is to take away the aspect of ego, to bring oneself back into the garden. Because the very nature of your questions of duality has brought you to a space of duality and manifest the body-mind to experience the duality and separation from yourself. So this is the perfect space to see that. Hence the word world Babylon, Babylon. This was never seen. People take Babylon as something other than what it is. No. It is the matrix. It is the realm. It is the world. And what that world does is it has the ability to turn you on, activate yourself from the absolute reverse of the truth. And every time I felt a question arise, I answered it, but then I applied it. So I had many questions. I seeked many things, but I had to apply. And that's why I live in a space now that doesn't have questions about food. I am a set way. There's no preference. There's none of this. I will never go to eat out. I will never go to a restaurant. I will never cross anything other than the things that I have created myself. I will never break the boundary of whole food. There was a stage where I was fixated on raw food and living fruits, etc. But then that's the obsession. And I had to bring balance and temperance to that. So I had to come into the cognization and recognize that my ego was being fixated, and it was not allowing me to expand because there was too much attention being brought onto the one dimension, which was physicality and food. So I had to learn that truth through the virtue system. I mean, I practiced virtues for so many years with Sister Michelle, like really practicing it, and each moment and those moments there brought so much intelligence, but that intelligence I had to surrender. So many years ago, I would have been a much more intelligent being speaking here. And
Like
people may have,
intellectual.
people may have felt like it was a higher space, but it's not. That compartmentalization of all that information to application to wisdom to be able to go, this is it. I can hoodwink you. I can, obliterate this moment and give you so much information. It's like with the language. Okay, if I just spoke the language in here and I just told you exactly what it was, no one would ever follow it. But a small pointing to say there is a language. And if you see the word measurement, it says mere sure meant, which means mere sure mind. If you see the word complement, it says comply mind. If you see the word government, it says govern minds. Testament is test. Look at these words, then something is planted inside of you. And then it starts to grow as you start to see. And only in this will one evolve. Not necessarily with the words, but when one starts the journey and is present in the moment and applies truth. That is the setting free, or the beginning of setting free. And if one can, just surrender everything here and now. Let go of all things. Hold no thing. And see. And if the question arises, silence him. Stay in silence. And in your silence, you will find your truth of who you are. You can never ever be seen or found. You are it. You are looking from that which you look for. It has always been here, present. You don't need to do anything. There is no search. Call off the search. It is what you are.
Yes.
And also we have expectations of spirituality. Anyone may have an expectation that they will just float off into the clouds, and then they have this expectation, but that slight expectation is causing separation, and they're still concepts, and they still hold you down. The separation concepts. So, we create these limitations by the imitations, and we must become free from these concepts. And the mind itself, when we go back to the beginning of the conversation, is only built through that which has been told or seen. And this is why our children become very noisy around age 5 and 6. But if we give them the ability to see that there is an ego and it says the opposite of what should be done, and when it arises, let us know. Tell us what it's saying. Our son had ego recognition from 3. And he's been telling us what he's been saying ever since. But don't worry, I'm not going to do it, he says. But it's good, it's great awareness for a young one to have.
Amazing. I can't say mine is exactly there, but it is what it is.
Perfect position, exactly where he should be at this moment.
So, we're getting there time-wise. We're about where we normally end these chats. So what we should do is then practicing the virtues and having a diet of light.
The diet of light, practice the virtues, and remember that there's a simple truth, and that this present moment exists alongside of the mind. And if you give your attention here, there's no more suffering. And it's that slight switch of your awareness that changes and you become free. So let go and remember, there is nothing to do. He's found here in this moment. That's the magic. This is the experience. So let's experience in joy and happiness, in abundance. Plant the seeds of truth. Plant the seeds of trees. Eat the fruit. Experience the fruits of each and every one of us. And together in unity and unification, we can restore balance across the plane. And that's what we're here to do. And yes, please, if you ever can and you haven't, come and support Meet the Family on xfamilyunity.com. We need to bring more awareness to this. There's great courses. At the moment, we're doing a food month, recipes, and there's a recipe book. And every day by a couple because it takes some time to edit. We are bringing new recipes out, but there will be 30 video recipes as well. We do have courses on the virtues, on healing. So if one does have any diseases present and is looking for the solutions, they are with us. They are here, and we have a beautiful family of high conscious beings that we are all here to help. So it'd be great to have you.
I trust everyone here has been to check out the website, and if you haven't joined, you need to ask yourself why, because it's invaluable. I made a broccoli soup today with potato panini. It was very good.
Good. So, brother dear, you are on the path to helping family transition.
Yeah, I had to step back a few steps because, you know, I can be strictly fruit juice and smoothies. However, I do appreciate occasionally indulging in the normal people's, you know, let's say food. No meat, eggs and dairy and these things, but some cooked foods and probably sometimes some things that's on the no list. But, you know, considering where I was 2 years ago, it's not bad.
Yes.
But I want to try to bring my family along with me for this journey. So I have gone back to making food from the recipes in the course and eating cooked whole foods.
Big shift, big difference in the delight sensation of fruit.
I have been struggling with the water retention and gaining weight. You know, from I confessed to you on this week's Q&A that I had the hotel stay this weekend with lovely buffets for breakfast and dinner. And actually, I got back home weighing in at 225.
And you left?
Probably a good, at least around 20 pounds lighter.
Wow.
And that's from when I finished the juice fast this December. I was 20 pounds lighter than that. So from when I finished the juice fast to when I get back from this hotel weekend, it's 40 pounds. Wow. Yeah.
You are 6'5", so there is big mass, just to let beings know. He's a tall guy, but that's some weight. But it does happen. You know, this happens. The belly gets inflamed. And
this is something. Maybe it's good to, if the beings here is not aware, when one gets clean, one gets very sensitive. So from, like I said, me 2 years ago was, you know, I could eat 2 kilos of chocolate, and I had, you know, I could eat lots of really bad things, but I never got fat. I never had a problem with like gaining, getting fat, even if my diet was not very good.
But a nice bunch of parasites that were ready to eat that.
That's probably the reason, because I see now, just indulging in some cooked foods, I won't say fat. Is it fat? Is it waste? You know, this is, but definitely, I have now at this moment, after this experience in this weekend, more issues around my waist than I had in my old lifestyle. But as you say, there was somebody there to handle all this crap.
Yeah. You know, in that great cleaning that you have, you'd never experience life truly. You know, when you have the fruit here and you're your clarity, your mental clarity, the connection to the body, the connection to life itself is so much more powerful. You have so much more radiance. The skin starts to repair, the regeneration. You look younger. You start to have the clearing of all of these parasites, and then your body starts to actually regenerate. Life itself is so much more extended, and only one will know this when they apply this. And the reason why Brother Jostein is feeling, and these experiences they look like you're gaining weight very fast. You are obviously scales, but it's not necessarily what one would perceive it to be. The weight itself is the retention because you've abstained from salts. Fruits, you don't have salt. So then the salts pull the water from the cells and put it within the skin. The skin gets inflamed. All this water retention is being absorbed. You can gain weight within the digestive system. The digestive system itself can hold a lot of weight.
Oh, definitely.
Processing of fruit is very rapid, so it's in and out of the system. So you can store, 5 to 10 kilos in the stomach. You could probably store 5 to 10 kilos of water retention. And then the skin looks very smooth and you don't see any of the lines of the abdominal, etc. if you're quite a lean being. So, and then you go back and you realize that. But again, it will balance if you build up this parasitic system again. But again, it's not the wisest choice because you definitely have felt the ramifications of what it's like to consume food that is not food or true food.
Yeah, I'm in no doubt that what is the best way to go. However, as you also said in the Q&A this week, that one has to decide where one wants to be. If you know that you will be continuously going back to some I don't know, no foods or cooked foods or whatever.
You haven't dealt with food queries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me now, what would you expect? Also, what would you say? As I said, I'm stepping back, going to make food from the recipe book to bring my family along.
It's a very noble thing, It's like going back to in the war to save one of your friends, jumping off the horse and risking fire.
But would you say that for me now, cooking daily dinner and consuming it with cooked foods, doing that daily, this will balance this?
Oh yeah. If you're not looking to heal chronic disease, and this is an experience that you're going through, you will feel the difference in food, and then you will balance. You build up the system that's necessary for these to be digested. If you're cooking food, dead food, you will need certain levels of candida, which eat dead matter. Candida will start to form, and then it will be there. If you stay plant-based and holistic, and you're not having the chemicals, even we've experienced people healing from cancers just by going plant-based and cooked food, just by removing these things. So cancer itself can just be healed by a plant-based diet, even with cooking. But again, it's the severity and where one wishes to sit. But it's led us down to this truth, which for us, I am looking forward to being able just to be somewhere where I can get fruit consistently all the time off the land. I would never choose anything other than this.
No, me neither. And I'm like, I definitely want to get back on that track, but hopefully with some.
No, we get the family first. We bring them along. We're doing a very good thing, and it'll also give them, the opportunity for their own evolution, which I know everything is falling into place. You brought yourself to a space, the peace, the family seeing it. Now the food's coming in, and then it's just naturally for them when they get on the natural diet. It's a beautiful thing. But I am grateful for the time. Again, thank you so much, and I thank everyone for being here with us.
Yeah, and I think
a great pleasure.
Speak for everyone here and everyone who will listen at this, that we are the ones who are grateful. Okay, we're all grateful. Everybody's grateful. Fantastic.
Gratitude is a wonderful.
Yes. So we're off to a good start. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week. I can't tell you the topic yet. We haven't decided. But it will be a good one. It's always a good one, right?
Thank you so much again, brother. I love you all. Have a beautiful day and continue to give attention to this very moment and be full attentive to everything which is presented to you here. Full attention.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you all. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.